Greetings. Thank you for tuning into this 2021 primary election candidate forum for Olympia City Council position number 5. This forum is presented by the League of Women Voters of Thurston County along with Thurston Community Media and is being held electronically due to COVID-19. Candidates, moderators, and timers are all joining in using Zoom links with the help of TC Media. First, a bit about the League. The League of Women Voters is proud to be nonpartisan, neither supporting nor opposing candidates or political parties at any level of government, but always working on vital issues of concern to members and the public. The League registers new voters, encourages them to be a voter, studies issues, and advocates for positions with the legislature and other governmental bodies. Despite its name, the League is open to everyone over 16. I'm Carol McKinley from the League, and I will be moderating this forum. The timer will show you a sign when you have 30 seconds left, and then we'll show a stop sign when your time is up. For candidates who are unable to see the signs, I will tell you when your time is up. The candidates for this position in alphabetical order are Wendy Carlson, Lisa Parshley, and Talauna Reed. Each candidate will have the opportunity to answer a series of questions that I will ask. The first question asked the question will have 2 minutes for a response, followed by a 1-minute response by each of the other candidates. I will alternate questions among candidates so that each has a chance to start first. There will be a 1 minute for a closing statement from each of you at the end. For the following questions, the first respondent, as I said, will have 2 minutes. The subsequent respondents will each have 1 minute to respond. The first question goes to Wendy, then to Lisa, then to Talauna. Wendy, please explain what you know about the joint work being done by Olympia, Lacey, and Tumwater on homelessness issues.
I'm off.
Wendy, there we go.
I think that they have said that they've been working with Lacey and Tumwater, but when you drive around Lacey and Tumwater, you don't see the homeless issue that our downtown core has right now. I have spoken to many Lacey residents and Tumwater residents, and the issue just doesn't seem to be as bad as it does in Olympia. I think that our downtown core is at serious risk. We're in deep trouble. Our seniors don't feel safe down there. Members of our community don't feel safe down there. They just came out with a community survey right now, and there were 77 people that don't feel safe in the downtown core. And I think that we need to do a much better job of working with the city of Lacey and the city of Tumwater and the county as well, so we can get a handle on our homelessness issue. I think we need to get these people to services. I think we need to be compassionate to these people, but I also think that we need to hold them accountable. We need to get back to what Olympia was built on, and that is small businesses. And our small businesses are really hurting right now because of the homeless issue, because people just don't want to come downtown. So thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. Lisa, would you like the question repeated?
No, thank you. I remember
Okay.
it. What are we doing regionally? Well, in the last year, we've actually come together in ways that we had not for the first 2 years of my term. The county has joined Olympia in forming what we call the scattered site management. Because all of you know, during the COVID pandemic, we were not allowed to do any kind of camp work, even if the members of the camp would elected to move to a new site. For example, on Ensign Road, where all the RV parks were, we were not allowed to move them. So we've formed with the county a scattered site program that's going to help with camp managements. We are planning for the end of these restrictions to be happening, and we've got a lot more work to do, including fully implementing the one community plan that our community built for Olympia. And we weren't allowed to do that due to the COVID pandemic, but we're ready to go and geared up and financed.
Thank you, Lisa. Talauna, would you like me to repeat the question? Oops, have to unmute.
Please do. Please do. Yeah, repeat the question.
Yes. Please explain what you know about the joint work being done by Olympia, Lacey, and Tumwater on homelessness issues.
Well, prior to today, excuse me, oops, what I know to have been going on is that Lacey has developed work groups. I know that there are some strategic plans in place from the city of Olympia. And what I know to be true is that there's not enough being done, not to belittle either council, but not enough in the sense that we still have a huge crisis and that we need to be intentional about the response as a group and begin to facilitate solutions for each area. Each city is unique in its issues, and we need to address them accordingly.
Thank you, Talauna.
Okay.
I will ask Lisa the next question first, followed by Talauna, then Wendy. The question is, what is the best way to create more affordable housing in the future? Lisa.
Well, we just had our housing action plan presented to council last week. In that, we looked at already formed plans that were on our gap analysis. What are we missing for our housing? What are the impediments and barriers to building housing? What is our market doing? And where are we going to need to go in the next 20 to 25 years? At this moment, we have a 7-point plan. Our plan is building a variety of different housing, especially at all levels for all incomes, because the newest data shows you have to build market level housing to stabilize the market. If you do not do that, you will not stabilize it. However, that does not solve our affordable housing and another 2 gaps that we have. One is seniors. By 2035, 1 in 4 members of Olympia and Thurston County will be over the age of 65. We have 47% of our population at housing risk. So we need to build not only affordable housing, but workforce housing. And this is going to require both incentives, legislation, the city leveraging our own property and going through RFQs, opportunities to own that are unique, which is going to include lobbying the state to change the condo rules. We are going to have to ensure that some of the affordable housing is permanently affordable so that people can pay only 30% of their income so they are not at housing risk. If we do not do this, we will have a continued homelessness problem. Our housing action plan for Olympia, I support it 100%. You can go on our website and find it. It is now launched.
Thank you, Lisa. Talauna, what is the best way to create more affordable housing in the future?
Okay, so we can't fix this crisis with only emergency services. We need to begin ramping up our affordable housing stock in Olympia starting yesterday. And I want to be clear when I say affordable, I'm not talking about market rate affordable housing. I'm talking about housing that is affordable to folks who live on Social Security and disability. folks making minimum wage, and folks who currently have no income sources at all. And to do this, we need to be building with the main focus on affordable housing and not treat it as an afterthought, and immediately implement affordable housing impact fees so that developers are paying their fair share instead of receiving deals from local government. In addition, we need to talk about building social housing with wraparound services to make sure that once housed, folks stay housed. And we need to look at places like Tacoma, who have been building affordable housing quickly and efficiently through effective use of their city's housing authority. And I think it's time that we start looking at a housing authority for Olympia instead of relying on the county, whose goals and visions do not always align with those of the city.
Thank you, Talauna.
You're welcome.
Wendy, what is the best way to create more affordable housing in the future?
Well, I think it's important that we make the city of Olympia somewhere where it's livable. Right now, our housing, our average house price is selling for $450,000. Having 2 kids that are in college, I want them to be able to come back to Olympia, and at those prices, they're not going to be able to come back and live here. I think it's important that we incentivize to developers to come to Olympia. Obviously, we have a lot of development that has been going on in downtown Olympia, but that is not affordable housing to most. So I think we need to look at other cities that have been able to build affordable housing and sustain affordable housing, so we can keep people here that aren't making the wage that needs to be made to afford the houses that are being built. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. I will ask Talauna the next question first, followed by Wendy, and then Lisa. And here's the question. What is your stance on the current plans and strategies for addressing sea level rise? Talauna.
Thank you. So unfortunately, sea level rise poses a giant threat to our city. And if the levels continue to rise, we could face catastrophic damage to our city and our environment. I think we need to significantly ramp up our response to this by reaching out to science and engineering experts to ensure that we keep our city safe. I agree that we must put significant resources into beefing up the landscaping, barriers, and protecting public spaces, but more could be done. We need to seriously consider restoring the Deschutes estuary. Many environmental groups, as well as our local tribes, have been demanding this for a long time, and it would be a giant step to restoring our watersheds and protecting our shoreline from sea rise. We should also be responding to the county's public health crisis when it comes to regarding systemic racism, and by honoring the Medicine Treaty and and giving authority to the Squaxin Island tribe to make decisions about our environment. Also, I think we need to rethink our current path of development on the shoreline and make sure that as luxury housing is built in areas significantly at risk for flooding, that the city will not be held responsible financially, and look at all areas that are at risk of flooding and make sure that no hazardous materials or the environmental threats are in areas with potential with the potential for flooding, make sure that they're cleaned before the flooding occurs. And then as we look forward to climate change, I think we need to make sure that we aren't doing short-term fixes, but planning for future generations. Our downtown, our city depend on it. Our kids depend on it. And I think, the relationships that we need to build between our tribes, our elders, and the residents, it depends on it. So thank you.
Thank you. Hey, Wendy.
I think the sea level rise is a real thing. I mean, that's the one beauty of living in Olympia. We have a nice, beautiful waterway in Olympia. They say that, it's going to happen in the next 100 years. So I think it's important to look at that. I'm not sure it's a city of Olympia we're not going to fix it alone. We have to have our state involved. We have to have the federal government involved. We need monies from them because it's going to cost a lot of money to do the things that we need to do to make sure that the downtown core is not flooded. So I would really rely on the city engineers. I know that we have very capable engineers that work for the city, and I would be relying on them heavily to come to me and tell me what they thought that needed to be done, and then I would make a decision based on their recommendation. I'm not an expert on sea level rise, and I would be really relying on the engineers to be telling me what needs to be done.
Thank you, Wendy. Lisa, what is your
We have
stance?
a, sorry,
I'm sorry.
I apologize. We have a sea level rise plan that was developed with the water treatment plant lot and the Port of Olympia. We just accepted this plan into action in 2020. We are currently working on governance and finance, including grants, loans, and FEMA money. We have already started to put in tidal gates to prevent back flooding, because most of our problem will be the king tides, which we expect to have over 100 a year by 2020 or 2100. We also are working on barriers for flooding using the natural land. We need to restore the estuary. And we need to remove the combined sewer and stormwater downtown. And we need to increase our codes, which already require all new buildings downtown to be 12 inches over the ground, the street level, with flooding mechanisms. But we need to probably increase that to 24 inches.
Thank you, Lisa. The next question goes first to Wendy, then Lisa, then Talauna. The question is, if a controversial land use issue raised a lot of community concerns, how would you address it given the context of past issues the city council has addressed? Wendy.
Well, I think that's one of the beauties of Olympia is there are a lot of very active people in this community, whether you agree with them or not. I think it is important for a city council person to listen to all constituents, not just necessarily the loudest constituents. So I think I would be reaching out to all sides and listening to the not just the majority of the people, but everybody, and how it would affect neighborhoods, how it would affect small businesses, large businesses. I think we need to get back to what Olympia was built on, and that is a small community and listening to all the people.
Thank you, Wendy. Lisa, how would you address a controversial land use issue?
Well, I have been thinking about this a lot for the last 3+ years. Honestly, it has to do with how we do our permitting. And once a building is in permitting, the city council cannot touch that permitting process because we have hired a hearings examiner, which does our quasi-judicial work on land use. So what we need to do is look at that process. If we want to have the community to have more input once a permit is in that process, we have to look at the codes that mandate that. The other thing that the city can do is look at our development agreement, which 3 of us city council members are getting together to put a referral for a study on this in reference to the West Bay, because we also were not as happy about how that process unrolled. Lastly, the city, when it's using a property of its own, should stay away from requests for plan, because that locks us into contracts, and instead use requests for ideas, which allows a little more latitude.
Thank you, Lisa. And Talauna,
Well,
how would you address a controversial land use issue?
Well, first and foremost, I think we need to start including the public in the process prior to making agreements. So there needs to be public communication prior to any deals that are made. And our city's at a serious crossroads. And as our city manager and city council have chosen to walk the path that to most seems to benefit wealthy developers instead of regular Olympians. Our city will quickly become a place where only the wealthy can afford to live. City Hall must stop giving tax exemptions to and other deals to private individuals like Walker John, Brent McKinley, and others, and start working for the people of Olympia. We need to adopt housing impact fees and ensure that growth pays for growth. And then we also need to make sure that all developments go through a rigorous environmental impact study before it's built, and lock in the generational impact of development projects to ensure health for our community and to ensure that we get affordable housing that we need.
Okay, thank you. I will ask Lisa, then Talauna, and Wendy the next question. On a scale of 1 to 5, how would climate action rank on your list of priorities, with 1 being the highest priority and 5 being the lowest priority? Lisa.
It's 1 because it intersects with all of our crises and issues right now. If we don't deal with it, they will all be made worse.
All right, thank you. Talauna, how would climate action rank in your list of priorities?
Definitely a 1. I recognize that climate change is an immediate threat to our community. And it is also true that climate change also disproportionately harms people of color and the poor. So it's not only a matter of environmental justice, but of racial and economic justice. But Olympia does everything within its power to tackle this crisis.
Thank you. And Wendy.
I would definitely say climate change is a 1, but it's not, the city can do our part in eliminating our carbon footprint on the world, but it's a world thing, it's a national thing, it's a state thing, and the city can do their part. I would really like to see the environmental impact that our homelessness has had on our community, with all the litter that's been around, the drug paraphernalia that's been left, the plastic that has been left, the human excrement that has landed in our waterways. What is that doing to our environmental impact? So there are ways that we could get better at just taking care of our local environment.
Thank you, Wendy. That's the end of the questions that I have. And now each candidate will have an opportunity to provide a 1-minute closing statement. And I'm going to call in this order: Talauna, then Wendy, and then Lisa. A 1-minute closing statement. Talauna.
So thank you, League of Women Voters, for this opportunity. Thurston County has declared systemic racism a public health crisis, and I agree. It is imperative for the city of Olympia, the state capital, to lead this county in a long list of changes, starting with diversifying the leadership. It's been over 30 years since a Black woman has been on the city council. We need genuine people with lived experience similar to the residents in this community, who have the proven ability to engage with, listen to, and who are willing to fight for this city in the interest of all people. If not me, then who? My education, my work experiences, my successes, my failures, my mistakes, and the many lessons I've learned over the past 45 years have prepared me for such a time as this. I am here ready to serve. I'm here ready to listen and learn. And I just thank you for this time. Have a great day.
Thank you, Talauna. And Wendy.
First off, I just want to say thank you for the invite. I really appreciate it. I really believe our city is at risk. My family has lived and worked here for over 110 years. I raised 2 kids here. I want them to be able to come back here. I want my grandchildren to come back here. We need to take care of our downtown core. We need to get back to what Olympia was built on. Olympia was built on small business, and we need to get back to support the small business that is in our downtown core. I think we can have absolute compassion for the people that are in those camps, but we need to have them accountable. We need to have them accountable so they can become better people in our community so they can be a part of our community. I want to have the best police force that is available in our state. I want them to make sure that they are respectful and engaging to every single member of our community. I want to see that affordable housing in Olympia.
Thank you, Wendy.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Lisa.
I also want to start by thanking the Thurston County League of Women Voters for hosting this candidate forum. The best part about a campaign in a community is that we all get the chance to discuss the issues, and the candidates get to discuss the issues of the community. Some of these issues are long overdue and necessary work on social justice and equity, dismantling a racism that's been built into the very foundation of our government and country. We need to reimagine public safety and bring it into the 21st century. We have to recover from the COVID pandemic, not just personal, but economic. We have to continue our work with our homelessness and housing, and yes, climate work, because we have 9 years to impact climate in a way that will allow us to live here. I'm Lisa Parshley. I'm running for re-election because I love Olympia and I love the work of City Council. And thank you for your consideration. I hope to continue serving Olympia.
Thank you, Lisa. I want to thank Wendy Carlson, Lisa Parshley, and Talauna Reed for participating in today's forum. Also want to thank TC Media for producing this program. The forum will be available on TC Media channels, the League website, as a YouTube video. We are glad you have taken the opportunity to view this forum. We remind you to be a voter and vote in the primary election beginning July 14th and closing August 3rd, 2021. Thank you all.